All right, so I have something to start us off with because I'm really excited about it, and I just learned about it about 5 minutes ago as I was getting ready to record this.
Okay.
So, you know how Netflix has that fireplace video if you just want like a nice fire on in the background?
Yeah.
They now have multiple fireplaces for different types of wood that they're burning. It's amazing.
Oh man.
I think it's only on
Technology these days.
it's so good. I'm watching Birchwood right now. I think that's only the second one they have. I'm assuming they're going to do more later because this is the best idea ever. But yeah, it's it's really incredible. Before I jump into mine, do you have any games you've been playing that you want to talk about? I'm assuming that's the answer is no, but I want to ask anyways.
I did play Dead by Daylight.
Really? How was that? Hold on, give me a little synopsis of the game because I've never played it.
So it's an asymmetrical multiplayer game where there's one killer who plays in first person, and then
Right.
there's
Okay, go.
four survivors who are trying to, and they're playing in third person, and they're trying to survive by turning on generators to power the gate to escape. And the killer is trying to basically obviously kill everyone. So you're sneaking around the map trying to avoid him. And if he grabs one of your friends, you know where he is. So then you're going around to the opposite side of the map to try and, repair a generator. And there's, try not to make sound. So he doesn't know where you are and such. And there's different killers. So one of them is a wraith who can turn invisible. Another one is a really weird one where you can never see him, but if he's close to you, he'll lull you to sleep because you can hear a song. And
Huh.
then after enough time, if he spends too long close to you, you'll fall into a sleep and you'll be in the dream world, and then you can see him, and that's where he can kill you. But there's ways to like wake yourself up. So there's a bunch of different killers. Some of them are um, based off of actual, I think there's one based off of the Saw movies or the slasher, yeah,
Okay.
Saw movies, I think. And so, it's super simple though, because one of the things that surprised me is after the first game I played with a couple friends, I realized I basically know everything. There really wasn't more to learn except the different nuances of the different killers.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. I feel okay, here's the thing. I'm checking my Steam library right now and it says I don't own this game. I distinctly remember playing this though, and I don't know how that happened because it's an online game. So I know like I had to have bought it to play online. But okay, was is one of the maps like you're in like a shipping yard and like the guy can grab you from like inside shipping containers and stuff? You know what I'm talking about?
I
Maybe it
don't.
was a different. It must have been that game. Never mind. Okay, I've
You
played
must
this
have been playing a
before.
different game. I think there's another game similar to it or a similar theme that I'm trying to think of, but I cannot remember.
Friday the 13th. I own Friday the
Yes,
13th.
Friday the
Yeah,
13th.
that's the one I'm going to talk about next. But I'll wait till you're finished.
No, that's pretty much it. I don't have much to say
Yeah.
on the game. Like I said, it's pretty simple, so there's not much depth to it. Feels one of the guys I
Yeah.
was playing with apparently is like over 30 hours into it now, over a couple weeks.
Hmm.
He's really enjoying it. For me, I probably won't play it by myself. It's the type of game where it's just a lot easier to play with when you have people to talk to.
Oh yeah, you got to have
Yeah,
communication.
and I don't know if there's voice chat in it because all the games we played, we had a couple of randos in there, and I don't never heard any of them talk, and I didn't know how to
Hmm.
talk to them, so I don't know if there's actual voice chat in the game.
Hmm.
So I mean, even though it's a multiplayer game, you're still pretty much playing alone.
So you would really like Friday the 13th. But before I get into that, I just want to say like it, I love the idea of asymmetrical games, but the problem with this one sounds like the problem I always have with them. They're not it's always boring for someone. Like it's usually there's not like a ton you can do with the characters it seems like and I don't know what's the big thing. Oh yeah, the big thing is that it's always really fun to be the killer, but if you're not the killer, you're kind of just running around and hiding. That's always been my problem with them. Did that bug you at all? Because that really bugged me whenever I
So
played them.
since I was playing with friends, we were always the survivors. We were never the killer. But
Hmm.
to me, I feel like the game would have been just as equally as fun, no matter whether you played the survivor or the killer.
Okay.
I think just because there's different limitations and there's different objectives, with each. Oh, I mean, this is kind of. I feel like I'm stating the obvious here, but
Hmm.
just because the survivors, you have to play the game differently, so I feel like that keeps it interesting enough. And I
Yeah.
mean, I never felt like I was, since I didn't play for too long, I never felt like I got bored with what I had to do until like the very end.
Okay.
I was also incredibly tired at the end, and
Mm.
so that might have. Hopefully, that doesn't affect my how I was feeling about it. It did feel a little repetitive at the end, and when you're going up
Yep.
against a really good killer or something, and you have bad teammates,
Oh yeah.
you're like, well, this is pointless. Like, why am I even playing this?
It I feel like they're exceptionally hard games to balance too because I mean I've played a little bit of I've seen a little bit of difference because I've played three asymmetrical games. I know that I've played Dead by Daylight at some point because everything you're saying sounds really familiar and all of the art looks really really familiar, but I don't know where. Maybe it was on some other friend's rig. Um I know that so there's Dead by Daylight, Hunt, or what's it called? Evolve. It's just Evolve, right?
Yeah, evolved stage 2
Yeah,
or something.
Evolve Stage 2, whatever it is, and everything. So there's Dead by Daylight, Evolved, and Friday the 13th. And in each one of them, the big issue they run into, except for Friday the 13th, which I really think stands out above the rest, and I'll hype about that one for a sec. But but it feels like the issue is that you have to there's always like, one killer and then there's four people who, they're smaller, they don't have as good of a chance, but if they work together they can do it. But if one person isn't pulling their weight, that can really pull down the rest of the group. I know that that game, Dead by Daylight, didn't suffer it as much as what's it called? Evolve did. Evolve was really really bad for it, which is why the game did so poorly. Because if you had just one bad person on the survivor team, you were just, or I think the hunter team, you were just gonna die. But I don't know. It just seems like a really really weird game to try to balance because you have to balance it for, one person's super powerful, but then the other four are equally as powerful or more powerful if they work together, but they can still win if one's not pulling their weight. And I don't know. There's a lot of little things to kind of figure out and everything, and it's I think it's just really
Yeah,
difficult
there's
to
a lot of
do.
variables, and I think that's one of the reasons they try to keep it simple, stupid,
Uh
because
huh.
it's easier to balance that way, and I think it's easier
Yeah.
to make sure you get the core concepts right,
Yeah.
as opposed to trying to slap on a bunch of different. I don't know what the word is. Just stuff, just
Hmm.
mechanics. That's the word.
Yeah. So I really okay. So I know the friend you're talking about who got this game and wanted you to get it, and you've been playing with him and everything. I was really hoping you guys wouldn't get that game because I like those kind of games. Like they're fun if they're done right and everything. And Friday the 13th, I think really by far stands out as the better one. It just got released like a year or so
Yeah,
ago. Maybe it was
about
two
yeah.
years now. I don't remember something like that. And so the game is based on the Friday the 13th movies. So you have the guy. It's either Freddy or Jason. I forgot which one. I want to say Jason. I don't remember though.
Yes.
Uh, let's just say
Yeah,
Jason.
I'm gonna say Jason.
If I'm wrong, I'm sorry that I'm wrong and everything. But the whole point of the game is that there's that you're at summer camp. That was at least the map that was out when I played it. There's like a summer camp and everything, and you have the killer, and the killer's stalking you through the camp, and the four of you are trying to survive. So it's basic concept and everything. But with the added bonus that there's different ways to win, and I don't know if it's like that in Dead by Daylight, but if you all work together, there's a way to kill the killer, or there's a way to escape the killer, or there's a way to call for help and have cops come in, and then the killer is the one like being hunted, and he has to stay away while he's trying to kill you guys. So there was some really really cool mechanics that they had in there to try to balance this. Like, if you're trying to get away, then you can't just run out of the campsite. You have to like find an oar to use for like the boat to like swim away on the lake, or you have to there's like a car, but the car battery's dead. So you've got to go find a wrench and the car battery in order to start the car. It was really really cool. So I don't know. I was a little bummed you guys got that one instead of Friday the 13th because I really like the Friday the 13th one. Oh right, was there any other games you played this month, or is that it?
I mean, other than Subnautica and Rainbow Six, not really.
Oh, Subnautica and Rainbow Six. When does the new Subnautica pack come out?
Not soon enough, but probably not for a while. I think it's so. I'm not sure, but I think it's more not quite a DLC. I think it might be a separate standalone game.
That would be
I
awesome.
would.
I kind of hope it is.
That's what I've been hearing. So I'm
Hmm.
almost kind of hoping it is.
I am too, because I was a little bit bummed because DLCs are always hard for me to get into because if I've already seen the main story, I don't want to play like a little side area. But if it's a new, like just a little story along with it, that's usually enough to get me back into it. So I really hope it's not just like a new area.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, it's a pretty drastic change. I think there's going to be a lot more land to go on just because, there's ice. So, I mean, just the fact that it's in such a completely different biome on the planet
Yeah,
is going to be it yeah, it's going to be pretty fun. I'm
sweet,
confident.
awesome.
I do wish they haven't released they only released one patch after they released Subnautica to version 1.0,
Hmm.
and they haven't done anything with it since. And it's
Mm.
still the game, for as much as I love it, it still is kind of buggy, and it still is a very poor performing.
No,
Like,
totally.
even
I
yeah,
mean,
even
it's made
with
by
a
a small
good
team.
yeah, I mean, my computer's like decent, but even still, that's one of the jokes, is just Subnautica doesn't run very well. It definitely needs some performance improvements. But
Absolutely.
unfortunately, we haven't had an update since what, March, April or something.
I'm assuming they opted to not make the team any bigger because it's been making a lot of money, isn't it now? Like on PlayStation and Xbox or something. Let
I
me see.
believe, yeah, it is, and I think on PlayStation VR as well. It's a VR
No
title as well.
way.
Yeah, it's a VR title
Are you
too for the
serious?
Oculus.
Yeah, but that's different from a
I'm pretty sure.
PSVR
I'm
game.
pretty sure it's in.
PSVR not supported. That's too bad.
Oh,
I would totally have
I
gotten that for
swear I remember
PSVR.
reading something about how it was going to be. So
If
maybe in the
yeah,
future.
if it is, I will be the first to let you know because I would love that. This is the kind of game that you would want to be in VR.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It
If
would
I
be
had a
incredible.
not an Oculus, a Vive, I would definitely play it.
I could see you splurging and just getting a Vive just to play this in it. And you'd be trying to downplay it, being like, no, 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 I'm going to use it for other things. It'll be cool for this. And I'm like, nah, you're just going to use it for Subnautica. And you're like, yeah, probably right.
Pretty much.
I could totally see you doing that.
Yeah, so
Oh,
actually
man.
there's a blog post they made about it coming to
Uh
PS4
huh.
and PlayStation VR, and
Nice.
the short answer is probably not,
Yeah,
because
most likely.
apparently they're saying meeting the FPS requirements for a good enough VR just, is going to be a really hard challenge even on the
Oh, yeah.
PS4.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I can't even get 90 frames on my PC, let alone having a VR experience getting 90 frames.
on
That's
your
just,
PC or on your laptop?
well, both.
Oh, really?
Like that game just does not run well for me. I haven't tried it in a while, so maybe it runs better now. And a little while ago I did some serious cleaning of my laptop, and my laptop's been running a lot more nicely now. There was just it was funny. So I got my laptop pre-owned, and and they didn't screw on the bottom properly, and some of the screws started popping out. And so I didn't realize that was an issue, but like tons and tons of lint was getting in there. And so I finally, a little while ago, I bought the new screws to get it all nice. So I popped it off to see what was going on, and I cleaned out so much junk, so much dog hair that had gotten in
Ew,
there and all this
man.
stuff.
Why?
So I cleaned it all out and everything.
I feel so bad
I
for the
know,
laptop.
I know. I put it all back together, and like it doesn't like I don't know. It runs so much more smoothly. I'm getting like at least like 30 or 40 more frames each game. Like it's
Yeah, way less throttling now, I bet.
oh yeah, absolutely. And the thing doesn't sound like an airplane when I'm using it. It was really bad for a little while. Like my hand, I couldn't play for too long because my palm would get too hot resting on the keyboard. And yeah, it was just bad. So
Yeah.
it's a lot better now.
One thing, real
Anyways,
quick, to
what's
bring
up?
it back to Subnautica again and
Oh yeah,
VR.
sure.
One of the things I was reading that someone had said is you don't realize until you play VR the scale of things in that game and how big all the fish are and such.
Mm,
Because,
yeah,
when you think about it, the fish are actually like, a couple feet long, even the smallest ones, and everything else just gets
yeah.
bigger. So
Oh yeah.
even when you, I mean, I wish I could experience it in VR and actual with, actual 3D. So,
Oh,
but
absolutely. Yeah, it's so weird. The more time I spend with VR, the harder it is to go back to just using a normal TV. Even with PlayStation VR that has a lower resolution, I think it's technically 720p. It's just such a the scale is so different in games. The scale's just completely different. It's a totally different ball game. I don't know. I'm really kind of sold on VR at this point. It's really good stuff,
Yeah, well,
and
I'm sure it's the future.
I'm partly saying that because one of the games in here has VR um, that I've been playing. Anyways, so I gotta. All right, so I've got 4 games here to talk about. I'll be quick with a couple of them and then longer with the others.
Okay,
Um,
hit me.
the first one's by itself. So Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I didn't write Odyssey in here. Um, this goes into a little story that I'll very quickly skip over. 'Cause it's not really much of a story. My dad came to me and he said, "Hey, listen, I need you to get a new modem for the house." So I said, "Okay," or not a new modem, a new router. So I went out and I found a really good deal on like the best router out there. And so I brought that home because I found it for like $60. It was a pre-owned, I think it's called a Nighthawk. It's like a Netgear
Yeah,
Nighthawk. It's what Corey uses. Like it's a beast. So I brought that home. I didn't think it would make a difference because like my internet is still like my internet. I didn't think it would be that much, but oh my gosh, does it make a difference? I haven't actually checked what I'm getting now, but it runs everything like a dream. Like it's fantastic.
yeah. So
Suffice to
so
say,
your old router
what's up?
was probably using an old enough spec of Wi-Fi that you were actually getting throttled through Wi-Fi.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, and yeah, and this thing's just working. It's still working with the modem. It's just going through an Ethernet cable, but it's still amazing. But anyways, I mentioned a while ago that I had gotten Assassin's Creed Odyssey for on Google's new service. I
Oh,
got into the beta for
so
it.
did you actually get to try that now?
I have tried it for about 30 seconds. And it's because I've been remodeling my kitchen, but I was so excited that it worked because I bought the router in the middle of remodeling the kitchen that I only had a chance to play for a little bit. So I'll try it as soon as I get more grad school applications done, which will probably be like tomorrow or the next day. I'll try it soon, I promise. Next episode we will talk about Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I tried it a little bit. All I've got to say is that the it okay, so as far as the looks of the game, I there wasn't any like screen tearing is the wrong word. It looks like a high resolution video.
There weren't no
Like
compression artifacts like you
there
would
was
see
no
on a low
compression
quality
artifacts.
or on a
Yeah,
YouTube video especially.
yeah, there was none of that stuff. All I did was I played the first 10 or 20 seconds of the first like cutscene thing, and it felt fine. Like I can't say much. It felt like the latency was a little bit slow, but again, I was just tapping on a keyboard really quick to get through it. So I really can't say for sure. I know that other people who've played it have said that it feels good, but you can still tell there's a little bit of latency. Um, I know that like I'll give you a spoiler for when I review and everything. If I see any latency at all, that'll be enough for me to be like, all right, I'm not going to use this because that bugs me so. Like I'm just like you. Like any little bit's going to be like, all right, that's enough. I can't handle this. I need zero latency or basically zero
Yeah,
latency.
it'll just get to that point where you're like, well, I died because of that latency.
Yeah, and it doesn't even need to be that. It just it there's a you're not in the game worlds if you can see a difference. But the problem is Assassin's Creed Odyssey is a hard game to gauge that on because Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Red Dead Redemption, games like that, they're kind of built for your character to move naturally instead of, like a Twitch thing, like if you're playing like a Rainbow Six Siege or an Overwatch. So some of the movements aren't meant to have an instant feedback. It wants to like if you thrust your spear, it wants you to like cock the elbow back a little bit before shoving the spear forward. So it's harder to gauge where that latency is. Does that make
No,
sense?
no, that does make sense.
Yeah, it's I wish they had chosen a different title for this. I wish they'd chosen like Doom. Like Doom would have been a great title for this because I want to see like immediately what the thing is. I'm a little worried that they chose Assassin's Creed specifically because latency isn't a big issue in
Yeah,
a game
yeah,
like Assassin's
that's what it
Creed.
sounds like. And honestly, it might not even ever get to that point where you could play a game like Quake or Doom or something
Yeah,
over, what is it? Streaming
a
like that.
Wi-Fi signal.
Yeah, streaming
Yeah,
like that. So I mean, that might just be a limitation we have to be willing to accept that some games you're still just gonna have to play like that.
yeah, and so I could see it being more for like single player games, but I'm really skeptical about this so far. So I don't know much of it and everything. I am playing over Wi-Fi. I'm not like hardwired in, so it's probably different that way.
Yeah,
But
that'd be a couple milliseconds maybe.
yeah, yeah. But if there's any noticeable latency that the server has to have my key inputs go through, that'll be enough for me to be like, I don't want to pay for this.
Yeah,
But
exactly. Because you're
yeah,
like,
but
well, I mean, I could just have a much better experience on my own computer.
yeah, yeah. And there's a couple exceptions to this, like Pokemon. That's a game you would never. There's no reason you would ever play it through a streaming service. I can't think of a single reason why anyone would ever play a Pokemon game through a streaming service. But that's a game where it wouldn't matter. I guess other RTS ones like Civ 5 or something, or Civ 6. Um, I don't think that one would be a big deal at all. I could actually, you
That
know
would
what?
actually be like the perfect game
I
because you
think you're
could,
right.
yeah,
You
because
could play it
then if
anywhere.
you could, yeah, you could play anywhere. You could just pop in real quick. That would be the ideal situation for having a multiplayer game over the long
Yeah,
term, like you were suggesting a couple of days ago, or like at a LAN party where we all have Civ 5 running in the background.
yeah.
Um,
I forgot I mentioned that. That sounds like so much
yeah,
fun.
but no, I feel like that's the best case scenario. That would be the best use scenario for it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I think we just figured it out, Jake. We just solved streaming. We know where it's gonna go.
Civilization
That
5.
Civilization 5. That's where it's all gonna be. But yeah. So
It's the next
I think games
esport.
like, yeah, anything having to do with either, I think RTS could get it past too. Like RTS would be fine with it.
Mm,
Especially, well, remember, like if your cursor isn't locked to it, if it's just your units, maybe not competitive, like really hyper competitive
definitely not
RTS stuff.
competitive. I don't think
Yeah,
anything above the casual level.
but I think as far as casual goes, I think it would be more than adequate to play like that. And again, like a game like, what's the one that you really like? AoE. Like AoE 2, you would never need to because it's such a low, definition
Yeah,
game.
and as far as I know, they're already dealing with a little bit of lag in that game anyway because it is
Yeah.
peer to peer.
Yeah.
But I mean, then again, if it's peer to peer, it would be kind of weird to stream it in the first place anyway
Yeah, absolutely.
because you
Although if
already
it
don't need a
is,
central server.
yeah. But if the server is the one having the full game, like both computers like are running off of the exact same server, and if it was like what's the new one? Like AoE 4, that's the one they're working on now.
Yeah, they announced they're
Um,
actually working on another one.
yeah, I could see myself trying that one and enjoying it in a service like this. Just if you're actually like that. Anyways, just to finish it off, it was really cool. Like it ran in my Chrome browser. Like it was exactly that. What it did was it forced my computer into full screen mode, and then I just had to hold down escape to get out of it if I wanted to. But it worked exactly as you would think. Like you just go to the website link, you sign in, or I signed in as Timothy Black, and then all of a sudden, like boom, I was in the game, and it looked exactly like I had just downloaded it. It was cool. So yeah, I'm excited to tell you more later.
Yeah, I'll have to come over and try it too.
Yeah. Okay, so the next three, um, you're gonna enjoy part of this. You're gonna get to find out what Emily's birthday present is early.
Ooh,
Um,
wait, hey,
I'm
hang on. When
assuming
is her birthday?
the 22nd. It's Thanksgiving Day.
Oh,
Her
okay, so
birthday's the
soon. I was
thanks
gonna say,
Thanksgiving Day.
so I hope it's not too
I'm gonna
soon.
I'm gonna try to get this out before her birthday. I'll try to work on this in the next day or two while
Because
I'm
don't
while
forget,
I'm
you still
buying
have the other one to
ingredients.
work on too.
I know. Gotta get both of them out. Well, the other one was short too.
Oh
It'll
yeah.
be okay. But this anyways, I'm excited because yeah, later on she's gonna listen to this and be like, "Oh, you did talk about it. I could have found out about it early." She's gonna love that. Anyways, I went to the store one day, and this is why I felt really bad because as you know, I bought a PlayStation 4 Pro like a week and a half ago, or two, maybe 3 weeks ago, something like that. Because I was having a bad day. I was sick of my old PlayStation 4. I knew I was gonna pick it up anyway, so I just decided to go for it. So I went for it, and that was $400. And then a week or so ago, I had another bad day, just because I wasn't feeling good because of the weather and my multiple sclerosis and stuff. And so I checked. I was like, you know what? All right, what's at GameStop? Have any of my pre-orders come out? Because I hadn't heard anything, but I knew they were coming out soon. So I checked the website, and two of my pre-orders came out the exact same day. They weren't supposed to, but they did. And so, I said, like, all right, I guess I'm picking up those games today. I like whatever and everything. So I went to the store and I picked up at the same time Fallout 76, which is the one for me, and Spyro the Reignited Trilogy, which is Emily's birthday present. And then I got home, and well, maybe it was a day or so later and everything, and I still wasn't feeling good. So I spent, oh man, okay. So do you see the name of the game on there?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a Tetris game, okay? It's a
Yes.
game of Tetris. It's a skin on Tetris. Jake, I spent $40 on a Tetris game in 2018. And here's the
$40?
here's the
What?
craziest part about it though. Out of all three games, Tetris is the one I've spent the most time with by far because it's the best one of the three. It is so good. It is so incredibly good. You've no idea. I've been waiting to gush about this forever, okay? So I won't take up a ton of time. I will try to stay cognizant of that, okay?
Like, who wants
But
to talk
Tetris,
about Fallout 76? Let's just go on about Tetris.
screw that crap. Tetris is the way to go.
So, Tim,
It's
have you started
so
dreaming about it yet?
I have. You start dreaming about it so fast. I know that's like a thing. Like there's something. I think the Tetris effect is actually the name of the
Yeah,
condition
it
where
is.
you dream about
It
Tetris.
is.
It happens so fast. Play for 2 hours and you start thinking about it all day. Like you'll see the blocks in front of you. It's oh my
Oh, that's
gosh, it's
great.
crazy. No, yeah, it's been happening all the time. I keep thinking about it. I've been downloading other Tetris games on my phone. I have a browser game that I had up while like Emily was in the middle of working on the kitchen with me. It was so bad. Okay.
Oh
So
my
what do you get
gosh.
with 40 bucks? What's up?
That is too good. That is too good.
All right. So what do you get with 40 bucks, okay? So the Tetris Effect is a game all about Tetris, and that's I mean that's kind of what it is and everything. Here's the spin on it. So the creators of the first of all, this is a PlayStation only title. The creators of this game put a spin on it though, and I really like the spin. So what you're doing is you have just a normal Tetris environment in front of you, but around you, like in the world, because it's like a three-dimensional environment, it there's different scenes that go along with it. So like one of the scenes is like you're underwater and then like you and then halfway through the level along with the music because all of the scenes are choreographed with the music, you'll pop out of the water and you're swimming with dolphins. And then every time you clear a line like the dolphins jump out of the water. So it's really satisfying to clear levels in that game. Like it's incredibly satisfying to do so. And as you're doing it, they have this really nice meditative soundtrack that goes along with it that has a surprising amount of variety in it too. Like some of the levels take place in the city, and so in the city they'll play like jazz. Like jazz is one of the big levels in the game. And every time you like move a piece, like a jazz note will play and the note will like be in unison with the song. Some of the levels are underwater, so they have more like a bubble popping sound and stuff. And the music kind of reflects that. Some of the levels you're like in space and stuff. Even a few of them have lyrics, but it all fits together so well that what it's been really good at is, and this is the reason I've been spending so much time with it. I've been under a lot of stress recently because I'm trying to fill out all of these grad school applications and trying to sell myself, and I'm basically spending every day this past week and a half, trying to write in as many ways as I can. Please let me into your university. And I know that I'm not going to get into most of these schools, so it's really like it's a big drain on you in order to fill out all these applications. So this game, I've been spending so much time with it because it's such a great way to just I'm not zoning out. Like I'm still thinking about everything that I have to do, but while I'm thinking about everything that I have to do, I'm listening to this music, I'm moving these blocks. Like my mind is totally involved in this thing, and my emotions kind of get redirected to this game because it feels like you're at a concert. And this is the part that I haven't told you yet. This game is the first game where I can wholeheartedly say it is much better in virtual reality. So just to pull the camera back a little bit for
Interesting.
you to laugh. Yeah, so just to pull the camera back a bit so you can laugh at this a bit more. I'm playing Tetris in VR, and I'm saying this is the best VR experience out of any of the VR experiences I've done. I've played Skyrim VR. This is better than Skyrim VR.
Like, who cares
Um,
about Subnautica VR? We got to go for
Screw that.
Tetris.
I need my Tetris. Oh man, it's so good. But anyways, it works in VR because when you're in space, it's a 3D environment. Like it's not like a video playing, like you're in the level. Um you're actually in space as you're playing this Tetris game, and the camera will move in very calculated ways across the level. Like I think one of the levels, you're like in the solar system and stuff, and then you zoom in on Earth, and then you see the Earth rotating, and then I think you go to like the Arctic or something. Like you do these different things, and you actually feel like you're being transported. And again, that just plays to the strengths of the game, which is like to take your mind from whatever it's actually thinking about, to redirect all your emotions to something positive, and then just to activate your mind as much as possible so you can really just stop thinking about whatever it is you're thinking about. Like you're using up too much brain power to really focus on anything else in your life. It's really, really good at that.
Well, I
Um,
mean, now I might
what's
just
up?
get a PlayStation 4
Yeah, just for Tetris.
just for Tetris.
Oh man, yeah. I'll have you try it the next time you come over. I'll do a Game of Thrones night soon. I want to do another one actually with a. I always make 2 or 3 turkeys around Thanksgiving season because right after Thanksgiving they get really cheap.
Yeah, yeah,
So I'll make a turkey and have you over to try some of this stuff.
yeah. Sounds
But
like fun.
yeah, it's just really good. It's incredible. The one of the big themes in the game is like unity, and so one of the oh yeah, so you have to pick like an online avatar to represent yourself in the world. And so I think like the first one you get is a fish. So I'm a fish, and I'm like on the globe. Like there's a picture of a globe in one of the menus, and you can see everybody else playing the game. And like I think they're different colors for what level they're on. But I don't know, it's just really cool. It makes you feel a bit more connected with people that way. It just makes you feel so much more at peace than you would think a Tetris game would let you do. And I'm sorry, the musical soundtracks are really cool too. So the musical soundtracks aren't just choreographed with the thing playing in the background, like the 3D objects and stuff, like that are going around in space. They're also choreographed to the levels, and the levels will speed up and slow down with the momentum of the music. So it's again, it's like really really transportive. It to really make you feel like you're there in that world, whatever that world is that you are in Tetris.
So it's kind of like
Um,
a the video, a way to what's the best way to put it? The video game to meditate, or like a meditative video game, I guess.
yeah, it's kind of like meditate. I guess you can call it meditation.
Like
So
as much as a
here's
video game could be.
yeah. So I had an argument with someone a day or two ago, and when I played the game, I was still thinking about that argument in my head. But it was I guess you could call this more meditative because it was helping me just kind of release. I was starting to think about this negative interaction as as a thing that happened, and just a thing that happened in my life instead of a bad thing that happened. Like it helped me get from those two states because I was thinking about everything that I said, everything that they said, and I was going around and around and around. But I was doing that with this music that kind of shifted the I don't know, the tones of the music started shifting. All of these things started moving and stuff, and it kind of forced me to not think about it in such a negative way. And so I guess you would call that meditative. Normally when I think of meditative, I think of like very like you're sitting still and just focusing on a single thing. And so I guess you're still doing that with this. But
Honestly,
I
this
don't know,
sounds like quite the emotional journey for you.
it was. It happened to hit the right note
Just
for
all
me
the
at
right
this time
notes. It
just
just
cuz
clicked with your brain.
yeah. I've been so stressed out. I enjoy games, and so it's just enough of a challenge to kind of keep you interested. I was kind of looking for something like
So,
that.
are you good at Tetris now then?
No, I'm so bad at it. I'm better than I was when I was 4. I think that was the last time I played a Tetris game. But yeah, I can clear a level. Emily, it was so funny because Emily saw it when she came over, and she's never played much Tetris and everything, and so she's watching me clear it. And when you see someone play any kind of Tetris for the first time, and that person knows what they're doing, they look awesome at it. Because you have all of these different variable shapes, and you're able to fit them in these perfect areas, and you seem to be able to see 2 or 3 moves ahead because you kind of get how to like fill things up
Yeah,
perfectly.
yeah.
And so she was looking at me play. She was like, "Oh my gosh, like you're incredible at this." And like she was giving me all this praise just because she's a girlfriend, and she's like, "You're amazing at this," and blah 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 blah. As I'm playing this, and then I got a D when the level finished, and she was like, "Oh, I guess you're not that good." I was like, "No, I'm not that good." It was pretty great. Um, But yeah, it's pretty wonderful. There's different modes that I haven't looked at yet, but I'm so excited to dig in more to this game because it was so good.
We're just like game of the year. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
there's
That's
a
awesome though. I actually am like really interested in trying that now.
$40, man.
Well, like I was saying, for
I
two
couldn't
hundred
believe it.
bucks, you can get a PlayStation 4 with Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man game at Walmart.
That's true.
So
Yep. Those games are going cheap. Sony's been really good at that too. Whenever they release a new game like that, they use them as a seller to get you to buy some other product. So they usually give away the game for free as long as you get a new system, which I've never seen before. Like it's a really cool thing that they do. I mean, they own all the IP, so it doesn't technically cost them anything, even though it might hurt their bottom line a little bit. I'm trying to find something right now. Hold on one sec. Um, it's a type of therapy with two lights that I'm trying to think of because it reminded me a lot of that Tetris game.
I have no idea what that would be.
Hold on one sec. It's okay. I can't find it right now, but I'll explain it a little bit. I want to know what it's called because eye movement therapy. Is it EMDR? EMDR? Radical new therapy, untreatable victims of trauma. Hold on, I might have just found it. Shines a light on depression. What is this thing called? Okay, EMDR. That's what it's called. It reminded me a lot. This game reminded me a lot of a therapy called EMDR. I guess it's called EMDR, which stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Um, so I probably mentioned this to you a while ago because I bring it up occasionally. There's a lot of new studies out right now looking at how the brain processes information and what kind of happens. And so I swear this gets back to video games at some point, but I know that one thing that they're looking at a lot is that when a soldier in war gets PTSD, what happens, or what we think happens, is it's kind of like the memory gets like knotted inside your brain, and your brain is not able to get rid of it. Like normally it's passed through. Like okay, like you have a whole bunch of memories for a day, and then that gets truncated and again, I don't know anything about neuroscience, so it's really hard for me to talk about this without sounding like an idiot. But I know that like all of your memories for like a day, those are all of your short-term memory, and then those get truncated into your long-term memory, which is why things that are happening now feel a lot different than things that happened yesterday. Like yesterday's very distinctly yesterday because they're all past memories instead of like the memory of you just walking to your kitchen a little while ago. Anyways, so there's a new therapy out to try to treat this called EMDR, I think, which or yeah, the eye movement therapy. And I'm talking about this because I have a lot of friends who say this works really, really well, and it's really helped them get over some traumatic events in their lives. But what it kind of does is the idea is you there's like these two light sources, or sometimes it's tapping or something, and they'll make your eyes go back and forth. And if you remember anything from psych class, you'll know that there's a thing called rapid eye movement that happens when you fall into a deep
Yeah.
sleep, and that's when you process information. So it's trying to simulate rapid eye movement while you're verbally talking about the event that occurred. And
So
the
so
idea,
so
what's up?
like I'm sorry to interrupt, but so
No,
what
no, no,
I'm getting at then
go for it.
is
This is too much of me
yeah,
talking.
yeah. But what I'm getting at then is it basically makes it feel like it's being processed into the like the yesterday, kind of.
Yes, it
So
takes
then
it from
instead
the
of feeling
today-then,
like
and
something that's affecting you now and that you think about every day, it's kind of like more of a oh well it happened yesterday. It's in the past now.
exactly. Yes. And again, I'm an expert on this because I know absolutely nothing about it. Um, so take it with a grain of salt. But I know that much. I know that what I know for sure is that it's a therapy which involves your eyes moving back and forth in a rapid eye movement kind of way, while you're verbally discussing the event that took place. And as you're doing both of those things, you start getting this feeling of like it didn't happen recently, it happened a while ago, and that difference allows you to deal with it better, to where you can just kind of get along with your day and say, oh, this isn't a big deal, this is something that happened in the past, it's not now. I saw this happen with a couple instances. I don't like one of them I really can't talk about, but there was one that was a bit better, and she'll never listen to this, so I don't mind. But it was one girl I knew who she was in her kitchen one day, and she saw a plane crash into her neighbor's house and kill her neighbor. And so for a very long time afterwards, she had a lot of trust issues just being in her house by herself, because she was all of a sudden very aware that at any second, for no reason at all, a plane could just come down and kill you instantly. Um, and she said she had the biggest problem with this until she did this therapy. I got way away from video games. So let me get back to that. This game kind of had the same feeling for that for me. Like everything that I was thinking about, a lot of these stresses that I have that just keep recurring with me, they felt like they just kind of are starting to get pushed to the background with this game. I know that my eyes are moving a little bit to the right and left, so maybe it's a little bit of the same thing, but it honestly just feels like a little bit of therapy, like it's helping me process more. Maybe that's the whole idea behind meditation. Maybe we should both start meditating.
I've considered just like tiny bits of meditation, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
I
think
don't
I'm
know.
dedicated enough.
Okay, so the other three games, I'm sorry, like that was I think the most I had to talk about for those. Or I'm sorry, the other two games, Fallout 76 and Spyro. Spyro, I'll say really quickly, I have not opened it. It's Emily's birthday present. It's still sitting in my house in a box, just like away, waiting for her birthday in a couple days. So that one I haven't opened yet at all. Fallout 76, I'm about 6 to 8 hours into. Um, it's really good. I was really surprised by it. I think I've told you this actually, right? It's a ton of fun. We've talked about this at some
We
point.
did, but I've
I
been kind of
mentioned it.
avoiding talking about it
Why is
just
that?
because I don't want to get it. I don't think it's a good
Oh
game
yeah,
just from what I've
I
seen
don't.
and what I've heard other people say. Like there's one video I was watching where
Yeah.
apparently there's a building that's glitched in Fallout 4 and Bethesda knows about it and hasn't fixed it, but there's a mod to fix it. But that
Okay.
exact same building with its problems is in 76. So they literally copied
Oh,
a
Fallout.
glitchy a bugged house, copied and pasted into the game and didn't bother to fix it. And you can't fix it
Oh,
with a mod because
Bethesda.
there's no mods in the game since it's online only. So,
Yeah, it's it's a it's a Bethesda game. Like it's definitely still rough around the edges. And once you start getting into all of the stuff they're trying to do, I understand why it's a fairly slow process and why they don't have, people working around the clock on these little tiny issues. I think right now they're just trying to balance the systems really well and make sure that everything works properly.
but didn't they have a
But I
beta? I don't know. I
Oh yeah, things have gotten way better since the beta. The beta was bad.
That's
Like there was yeah.
yeah,
You got to
but even
remember.
still though,
So
it's like why are we sure the glitches in Skyrim can be fun and such, but why are we do we play it off so lightly when they actually like, they are kind of buggy games. Like I mean this isn't
well,
like some revelation or something, and I know I'm kind of like, a lot of people are saying this now
I
over
gotcha.
Fallout 76, but at the same time it's true. It makes you think why all of a sudden like why were we letting them like why was it okay for Skyrim to have such glitchy physics? It was funny at times and such, but at the same time tying your
Well,
physics to the frame rate is absolutely ridiculous. It is in
so okay,
2018 or I guess 2011 when
there's
Skyrim came out.
there's a couple reasons for this, okay? And I'm going to give them a little bit of grace. This is still ridiculous that they have a lot of these problems. I think less so with 76, much more so with games like Fallout 4. Um so let's see. There's a couple things, and I want to say them really quickly. Let me think. Okay, perfect. So the first one that you need to remember, and this is the one that bugs the hell out of me. Bethesda is trying really hard to make sure that they have a monthly income or a yearly income. They need to be constantly producing things and making money off of that, which they're getting better at with games like Doom and such in order to pad their pocketbooks a little
But
bit more.
before you go further though, does
Yeah,
Bethesda own id Software that makes Doom?
that's a good question. I don't know if they bought them or not. I think they did. You want to check that really
Yeah.
quick?
I mean,
Bethesda id Software, owner of Bethesda Softworks. Oh, okay. Oh, ZeniMax, which I think owns id and Bethesda.
that's right. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so anyways, the company's ZeniMax. So, oh, that actually makes more sense for this. Bethesda is a company that's constantly trying to produce these new products under deadlines, which is a bit of an issue. And so one of the ways they've helped with that issue is, and this is the part you're probably not going to like, but this will make a lot of things make more sense. They're still using the same engine from about 15 to 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't changed the engine. It's still the exact same engine. They changed the name because they tweaked it and modified it a little while ago, but the bones are still the exact same. It's the I think they call it the Creation Engine now, and it had another name before they tweaked it, but it's the same engine, which is why a lot of this stuff is buggy, and it's the reason over the years it's actually gotten a little bit more buggy because they're trying to
Mm-hmm.
make this engine do things it wasn't meant to do. That really started coming out with Skyrim. Oh, anyways, that's my first reason and stuff. My second reason for it, and this is the reason I think we gave Skyrim a pass, although I don't think Skyrim would be nearly as well accepted now. Skyrim, well, they've done this for a couple of years, but Skyrim was definitely by far their most ambitious title. And I think people enjoyed how incredibly ambitious it was with all of its systems, with all of the little things you could do in the game. And because it was so ambitious, there were a lot of things that fell through the cracks because it would have taken so much beta testing to get all of those fixed. And then I think after a while, Bethesda's just kind of known for it, so they don't really have as many people working. What they really should do is pad out their team with people to just fix these bugs as they come up because there's going to be millions of them and stuff. Anyways, those are the things for the past. With Fallout 76, I give it a lot more grace, and the reason for that is because it's super ambitious and because it's using that old engine, and it's using that old engine to not do a single player experience anymore, but to do basically what is a massively multiplayer online game that is also a full-fledged first-person shooter at the same time, and doing it in a big giant RPG world that feels very much like any other Fallout game. It's so incredibly ambitious, and you've got to give it some credit for that. It's really really cool the way it works. Like, you can open up the map and you can see every other player in your world and what they're doing at all times. It's a small player count right now, but even with that small player count, it's really, really cool to see all of these different things happening on the map. Like, I can see in real time where every single one of their markers is, and the game's trying to process all of that at the same time as loading my 50 enemies in front of me that are trying to get me. It's just this really, really cool system that they have going on with the game. But anyways, it's a lot of fun. I'll talk about the game now a little bit. I'm not super into, like, I haven't really delved into the systems yet because it's really really hard to kind of get going. It's a survival game. So a lot of the stuff is just locked for a little while you're trying to get off the ground. So, in order to start, cooking things, you need wood. So I had to figure out how to like get wood at a reasonable rate and stuff. And then once you figure out how to get wood, you need to figure out what you can cook, what's not safe to eat, what is safe to eat and stuff. There's all these systems that I'm still trying to play around with. I will say that I played with Daniel for a little while a night or two ago, and we both got a little upset at the game because I was walking around. I was like, "Oh, I just ate something, and now for some reason I have dysentery." And he's like, "Yeah, I've got swamp itch." And so we were both walking around the game with these ridiculous things that we both suffered from, which was kind of hurting our experience because it doesn't tell you, like, there's no really good ways to get food unless you like grow it yourself, but that requires you find fertilizer and all these different things. And so it's a full-fledged survival game, um where you're trying to get these things, but at the same time you just want to explore. And so it's hard to it's been hard for me to figure out that balance so far. But it was really cool. Like, the shooting feels awesome. I think the last thing I did with the game was I found a giant monastery on the top of a mountain, and I don't know. I ended up having a massive battle with another player I found in there. Everyone in the game's super chill too. Like, I don't know if they programmed it like this or if they did some things to make it more friendly between players, but nobody wants to get in a fight with you. People will usually actively avoid getting into confrontations and are much more happy just trading with you and talking to you and just doing a whole bunch of, just little things like trading emotes back and forth, doing missions together, asking you if you want to be part of their guild for an hour or two while you can go complete these missions and you both get experience. It's really cool. Like, I've never seen an MMO that goes out of its way so much to make everybody work together. Like, because you're not just like in a guild and like there's other guilds and there are other players and stuff. You all feel like you're in the world and you're like a little family in there and you all want to help each other out. but it's really cool. On the map, every once in a while, you'll see different like like hotspots, and if you go to that hotspot, there's an event going on at any given time of the day. So sometimes it'll be like there's a parade going on, and there'll be like a whole bunch of like like giant ogres like in a parade going down this one road, and you have to go blow them all up before the time limit runs out. In other places, like there's a problem with the robots, and so all the robots will be aggressive in that area. I can keep talking, but I think that's pretty much it. Like I'm having a lot of fun with it so far, and as far as survival games go, it's really fun, especially since it has FPS mechanics in it, and they feel good.
Hmm. Yeah, there's a couple things I wanted to say after that whole
Go
rant.
for it. What do you hate about the game?
Unfortunately, I can't quite remember what I wanted to say about the beginning when you're talking about the use them using an old engine and it being glitchy and such. I
Okay.
do remember like a little tangent is that Call of Duty. I don't know if they still use it, but they were using like the I can't remember the engine. It came from like
Well, they're on Frostbite now. Is it still Frostbite? Oh wait, no. Was that
no, that's Battlefield.
that is okay?
That's whoever makes that.
Yeah.
But no, Call of Duty was actually using like the Quake engine originally, which was from the Gold Source engine. So and they were just like kept like making it more and more of a Frankenstein almost. Like it became more and more dated. I don't know if they've done anything to remedy that. I don't know if they switched to a new engine or they've done like a complete overhaul. But as far as I know, even up to like Modern Warfare 3, um, as far as I know, they were still using just a heavily modified version of a really old engine. That's a
Hmm.
tangent that it just made
No,
me
I
remember
gotcha.
that. Um, let's see.
I've still got. Well, hold on. Before you move on, I've still got a little bit of stuff to say on that. As far as again, Fallout 76 is the exception to this and everything. I get that for the other games, it's a little bit ridiculous still. Fallout 76 is different because I know one of the big issues that they were dealing with is that in the engine's code, when it talks about what to do with certain events and stuff, it'll say, like the code line will say, player does X, player receives Y. Like that'll be like, one of the things in the code and everything. The problem is now they have to make it for multiple players. And so there was a lot of work just trying to figure out how the hell to tell this engine that there's more that you don't think of player, you think of player 1 or player 2. And having multiple actors in the world is a really big change for that engine for just because you have to tweak all these little things and because it just wasn't built with those kinds of things in mind. So it broke a ton of stuff as they were trying to remedy the
So
engine.
there's a couple points here because one of the things that I think of when I think of using the same engine to build a bunch of games, I think of Telltale and how the formula became stale, as everyone loves to say now, especially now that they're defunct, uh,
Hmm.
which I was saying for a while. I'm not trying to sound like hipster or anything. I'm just saying like I always thought they were like obviously just rehashing the same thing.
That's okay. You called it. You
No
called
matter
it.
how good The Walking Dead season 1 might have been or The Wolf Among Us or whatever. I was just like it's just the same thing again and again.
I still defend that formula. I think that was a great
Except for the
formula.
fact
I
that
think they
they
should have stuck with
drove
it.
it into the ground. Um,
Maybe.
I mean, come
Uh,
on, let's be real. Minecraft is a game about no story, and they tried to give it a story.
if the writing was good, which I don't think it was for the Minecraft one, I don't think anybody would mind that. And that's because I've played a couple. I think I've played 3 games in that same vein, and I thoroughly enjoyed all 3. Emily played a fourth that she really. I played. Well, let me tell you really quick. The Walking Dead. Those seasons were really really good. I haven't really sunk my teeth into it, but I played a bit and I really enjoyed them. I loved The Wolf Among Us. I also loved, and this is by a different company, but it was the exact same thing. King's Quest. King's Quest is phenomenal. And your sisters would love the crap out of that game if they ever actually listened to me and bought that stupid thing for
Well,
like $4.
if
Swear to God, just have them play that stupid
if I
game.
was the one to recommend it, well, then they might.
All right. Anyways, they would absolutely love it because it's like a little Disney film. But I don't mind it because it feels a lot like I don't know, it's a style of storytelling. It's not so much a game as it is a way to experience a story. And you gotta I'm saying that as like a clear difference because as a game, yes, it's totally stale. It would be just, the same mechanics with a new coat of paint every single time you buy it. That's a boring thing to have. but they're storybooks. The whole point of the game is that you're not really playing a game so much as you're interacting with a really, really cool storybook. And if that's done well, I could have that 1,000 times with 1,000 different stories, and I'd still enjoy them. So yes, as a game, I totally agree with you. I just don't think they're games. I think that was the real issue that the market had looking at it. But keep going.
Yeah. I'll
Or did you
oh
want to
no.
disagree?
I'm honestly just trying to like bring this back to the original point, which was if they're
Sorry.
using if Bethesda. No, I we could go on to this, but I also do want to get my other points across first.
Yeah. Okay.
Because this has been kind of all over the place. But if they keep using the same engine and just building on top of it and building on top of it, but they're not really fixing like old bugs that it feels like, or like old issues that they
Mhm.
have, then
Are you talking? Hold
I
on.
feel like they're okay.
Before you go on, I just want to
That's
ask.
fine.
This is not. I'm not pulling it away from you. I'm just asking for clarification. The old bugs. Are you saying old bugs in the engine itself, or old bugs as in like the building that was glitching?
I mean, like in the engine itself, like you know how the
Okay,
physics are
gotcha.
always kind of wonky in Bethesda games and such, and
Okay,
and
thanks
things like
for giving
that.
me that point.
And so
Okay.
if they're it almost seems like they're putting less effort if they're not doing much to the engine in between games. It almost feels like that telltale kind of thing where they're not doing anything to the engine, but they're just like adding different stories and different characters to it each time, you know, new assets and such. That's what it kind
I
of
totally get that. Yeah.
that's the kind of comparison I'm trying to make here. And
Hmm.
I understand, you know, that all of a sudden, you know, you do introducing multiplayer, that's a whole new variable. But then you remember, I mean, I'm hardly a game developer, and I hardly have like, you know, I've made Minesweeper, and that's pretty much the extent of my video game programming. But
Hmm.
you already have the as far as I understand it, when you have an engine like that, I don't I think the amount of work it would take you to get to that point is drastically more than the amount it would take to add multiplayer to that, because that's just another module on top of it. And you already have the functionality where in the console commands for Skyrim, you could spawn in a character, and then that character can already get stuff. You can say, you know, give so like entity ID number, whatever, and give them this item. And so the code is already in there
Okay.
pretty much for multiple.
Jake,
What?
I see where you're going with it.
Yes.
You can just come out and say it. I see exactly where you're going. Just say it. I know you want to say it. Just say it. You don't. I see all your
No,
points. It's okay. Just say it.
that I was literally just about to, but it's just the base is already there, and it's not that much extra work to go ahead and put in, you know, actual multiplayer functionality instead of it just being NPCs.
Therefore,
I mean, therefore, I don't think you should be giving them as much of a free pass just because they added a multiplayer to an old engine.
oh, okay. I thought you were going with why the hell did you spend $60 for that,
Oh,
which I still think is your underlying
that's
point.
also another point I completely forgot
There
about.
we go. Okay, just say it.
Because if they're
I
already
was just waiting for
copying
you the whole
stuff from
time.
Fallout 4, why didn't they just put it in Fallout 4, or, you know, not charge a full $60 for a game that's literally using the same assets as an old game?
I mean, if you wanna make that point, I think you'd have to kind of I don't know why this and maybe it's not. Maybe this isn't a new argument. I don't understand why people wouldn't get mad at this before because I'm sure the assets are fairly similar to Fallout 3, which probably donated some to Fallout New Vegas before they donated to Fallout 4, which finally donated it to Fallout 76. Like all of these games happen in the same world. Their NPCs look very similar to one another. Like I understand that you're probably dealing with that and everything. I understand that the artistic aspect of the game is still probably a big part of the way they're designing it, but it's mostly in the world design more so than like creating individual objects that seem like they've been there forever. Because I've seen the exact same ceiling or the exact same table fan in like every single game of theirs that I've played. I get that portion of it and everything. I think that I don't know. It's interesting. I'd like to see their style because I get what you're saying. It seems like they're not putting in a ton of effort to start squeezing money out of people. Um, I know that the development cycle for this game wasn't as big as the other ones are. Like I think Fallout 76 was only a 2 or 3 year development.
Yeah, and
I could be
to
wrong
mention the
about that.
fact that sure you might have said it was buggy at really buggy at beta, and it's not nearly as buggy, but there are still glitches I'm seeing that are stuff that they probably could have fixed, and it's not like it's hidden like this obscure bug. It's just problems that everyone's having.
I wonder if maybe this engine is so archaic that those glitches are so like I don't know. How could I say this? Maybe the bug is so bad that they're not even sure why that bug exists, and the engine's so old that nobody's around who actually worked on that thing for them to actually troubleshoot and figure out how the hell this would happen. Like it would just be way too much work for them to actually go back and figure out how to fix these stupid things. That's honestly my worry now that they've been using it so long.
So
Um,
um I doubt that there is
what's
nobody
up?
who's ever like who has worked on it, 10 years ago or something. But
Well,
I
I mean,
think
even
it's
if
more
they
so just the
did,
fact that it's just that some stuff are literally limitations of the engine, and without rewriting like some core
yeah,
concepts of it, it's just always going to be like that, or it's always going to be difficult to make it better, maybe in regards to the physics. So I think it's
yeah.
more so in that.
I could definitely see that. I mean, I know that people have been complaining about this for years. I was complaining about it back with Skyrim. I know that for a long time, I'd like to see a list of all the things that they've bolted onto the engine as time has gone on. But this thing is just so I don't know. It was meant to be like a really, it's not it was always supposed to be open world, but like a really concise open world experience where you're doing some things. There's actors, but the actors aren't doing much. They're just like placeholders in the world and walking around their like morning routines and stuff. And it went from that to all of the actors being very interactive, and every time you act with them, they can go and do things like I know in Skyrim one of the big or not in Skyrim, Oblivion. One of the big things in Oblivion that they were raving about was if you attacked someone, that person can get freaked out and run out of the building, out of the cell that they were in with you, and they'll run into a different cell and go grab a weapon and then run back into your cell and then attack you with the weapon they found. Which is a really cool thing that they added, but it was something that they tacked onto the engine, which I imagine didn't make the engine very happy.
Yeah.
And that was back in Oblivion. Like, if they were talking about the amazing things they could make the engine do then, and like, make it do all these backflips and stuff, I can't imagine the kind of backbreaking stuff they're doing on it now. And we're seeing the cracks. Like I think everyone who's played either Skyrim or any of the new Fallouts of the past couple of years, they we can see those cracks fairly well now. Like the games just look old. Like you see it with the NPCs and everything and how their faces look. You see it with all of these silly glitches that no other AAA game has. Like Bethesda's the only game or the only game company that still has issues with all of this stuff. And I don't know. I guess the reason we give it a pass is just because we've been with it for so long. It's kind of endearing. Like it's like what's the right term? It's like an old car that has like that unique little like clunky sound in the engine that you're just so used to. Like it's a bad thing, but
And
you've had
it
it for
might,
so long.
car might end up exploding, but who cares?
It might end up exploding and stuff, but like it's charming. I don't know. I guess that's the only reason. Like it's a funny game company to look at for that. But I totally get what you're saying about the assets. It really doesn't seem like they're spending much time doing those. I will say, um, at least as far as this game goes, it really does feel like the world was very hand painted. So I do like the fact that it seems like they've had a lot of people working on the world building much more than the objects in the world. Does that make
Yeah, that
sense?
makes sense.
Yeah, like spending more time on that. And if that's true, which it might not be, like maybe I just haven't looked closely enough. Maybe it's all like procedurally generated or something. But if that's true, I do kind of appreciate that like kind of aspect to it because that's the same reason we like what's the other game? Oh, PUBG. That's the reason we like PUBG. Like everything in PUBG is pre-made, but it was all built in such a nice, precise way in that game world that it's still a fun time to go around. So I don't know. I get your frustrations with it though. It's everybody's
Yeah.
frustrations with that stupid thing. That stupid engine, man.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've been reading. I've been trying to skim a little bit of the article, the creation engine. You were right about that. Apparently,
Yeah.
they were using something called Game Brio up until
Okay.
Oblivion, And
Okay.
then with Skyrim, they actually that was when they first debuted. That was the first game made with the
Creation
creation
engine.
engine. So it's actually,
Hmm.
I mean, the engine it's based on is based on an engine that's like from like the 90s or something.
Oh yeah. From what I understand, it's the same. Like they started with that as the blueprint. Like that was the engine they used, but they've been tweaking things and they changed it enough to call it something new with
Yeah,
that
and
creation
it's
engine.
hardly going to be anything remotely similar to what they had in the 90s. But
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know. Who knows how much of like old ways of that, like specific ways that engine did stuff, how much of that carried
Yeah.
over to the creation engine. I
Yeah,
do want
absolutely.
to. I just think this is kind of interesting. Game Brio
Gamebryo.
Gamebryo was called NetImmerse until 2003, and some of the games
Okay.
like is actually apparently a pretty popular engine
Hmm.
because Civilization 4 used it, Zoo Tycoon 2 used
Oh,
it, Epic Mickey 1 and 2
okay.
used it. Um,
Yep, that's pretty old.
yeah, but like I mean, this is
It's popular. It was
yeah,
very
this is
popular.
actually a fairly big engine.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know. It's yeah, the stuff they're doing now with there's not an engine I think that's built that would do that really well. Maybe whatever Destiny's using. Do you know what engine Destiny's on?
oh,
That might
I
be
don't even
perfect
know.
for it. It's it's interesting because the difference is that this game wants okay, so it wants a whole bunch of players in the world. I think it's pretty safe to say that all their games now are going to be multiplayer as far as the Skyrims and the Fallouts go. I don't see a reason why they would go backwards. Um, because I think it's working pretty well for them. And they've seen how popular the Skyrim Together thing is, even though that's not out yet. Like they want to. I think they see the uniqueness and the audience that those things would have. But they need to keep all of those players in the game world. They need like a questing system and stuff that'll work really well with that. They need a full like facial movements and stuff for talking, and really what's the term I'm looking for? I guess realistic, like really realistic facial expressions as you're interacting with them and as you're doing these different motions with the game world. And they need all of the NPCs to do things in the game world when they're not even with your character. Like all of these different little background computations, like, which building are they in now? What action are they doing? And I say that because one of the big things, and again, this was like with Skyrim, is that you could give someone like a poison apple and hide that in their inventory, and then they would go and walk into their house, and then like 3 or 4 game hours later they would drop dead in their house away from your character. So it's all these little things that the world has to be keeping track of and stuff. I don't know if there's a good engine out for it right now. I think that Bethesda has the closest you can get of any engine on the market. I think they'd have to rebuild, I guess, their own one from scratch in order to do this again, which I guess seems like a waste of money. I
I don't.
can kind of
I
understand it
think
too.
you're underestimating the versatility of something like Unreal Engine 4 or CryEngine.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that far of a stretch to say you could implement that on just about any engine.
What's World of Warcraft running, I
Ooh,
wonder?
who knows?
I wonder
For
if it's the
Destiny,
same.
I looked it up and there's it's not like released publicly. Like you can't just use it. Something
Okay, so it's
about I
just
think
their
it's like the
internal
Tiger
engine.
engine or something is the internal name. Yeah, Tiger
Okay.
engine.
Okay, cool. And then World of Warcraft uses an internal engine too. It's called like WC3 engine for like Warcraft 3. Warcraft 3 engine.
Let's see.
WC3 engine.
The Warcraft 3 engine, huh?
Yeah. Interesting.
Um, one other
Yeah.
while we're still on the topic of Fallout 76, just one other thing. I noticed you kept saying MMO a lot. Now, I'm not quite sure about this, but from what I understood is there's only like 2 dozen players on one map at any given time.
Yes, but here's the reason I say MMO. I say MMO because the way that you interact with those players is not a what's the term? It's not like Destiny where you're all in a hub world and then like you go off and do your own things. Like it's not like a little thing. The whole game is open for all of those players to do whatever the hell they want, and all of these different events and quests are going on at the same time in different parts where the players are going around. So it's like a miniature MMO, maybe is what I'd call it. Does that make sense as to why I'm making that
I mean,
distinction?
is it more like the GTA Online where you have different sessions, basically, for online play? Where you have like a lobby of 12 people or something, and you can switch from session to session and get new people.
I'm gonna say yes, but I'm not sure. That's a good question. I assume you can swap servers. I've never seen any kind of command in the game to swap servers, though. I've been through those menus. It's not like a, kick this person from session or
Well, yeah,
something.
yeah.
I don't think it uses that language.
But
But uh,
it just
but
seems to me though like MMO is maybe a little too strong of a word. Like
I guess
because
so. I mean,
MMO is massive multiplayer
when
online.
I think of when I think of MMO though, and maybe I'm wrong about this, I assume each part of that game world is like in the same server, but it doesn't really treat you all as if you're in the same cell of the game. Like it treats you as if like you're in different things. Whereas this game, like everyone's in the same world all the time, and you can like it's all. I don't know how else to explain it. I guess it is like a session, like in GTA. I don't. What would you call that though? Would you just call that a multiplayer game?
Yeah, just
I
a
guess you can call it a
multiplayer
multiplayer
survival
game.
game. Like I think it's a bit of a stretch to
Okay.
say massive in terms of the player count.
I guess so. It's just I understand that. I when I think of the word massive though, I think of more like the expanse of the game worlds and everything happening in that game world at the same time and kind of the measure of that instead of just the raw player count. But I understand that I'm thinking about the word massive wrong in that
Yeah,
context.
because
That wasn't what it was originally used for.
yeah, because actually that's interesting though. Because something that came to mind was PlanetSide 2. Because I think you can
Yeah.
have you have hundreds. Actually, I just looked this up this afternoon, but apparently you can have they broke a record for like the most amount of people on one multiplayer game, and it was in like almost 1,200 players. So
Wow.
to me, that's more of a MMO in terms of scale, where you can have hundreds of people. I
Hmm.
would say since like 24 people or whatever the number is for 76, that
Hmm.
is more comparable to a Battlefield game or a Call of Duty game
Hmm.
or something, not so much a World of Warcraft or a giant battle like PlanetSide 2.
I'd be very surprised if that giant PlanetSide 2 battle happened in the same spot though. I don't know how their servers would handle. I don't know. That's a impressive server. Whatever server that is, we should give that thing a gold star. That poor thing. Um, but uh, but yeah, no, I get that and everything. It's just there's so many. I don't know. There's all of these quests going on at the same time. There's all of these enemy types that it's loading and unloading, and I don't know. It felt huge. It felt bigger than GTA. Like GTA feels like like just a town you're playing in, whereas this felt like there's whole different like ranges and landscapes and stuff to go around in. Whereas I never really got that feeling in GTA. I just knew there was like the city and the desert and like a forest area up top. Like it felt maybe it's just because you have cars and so you can speed around it faster. But yeah, I guess it's more of a GTA kind of sessions based thing.
Yeah.
I still like to think about it as massive though. It's cool. Okay, I need a break.
Definitely. That was
We should have taken one a while
I
ago.
know, right? That was there was just so many points to make and so many like tangents to go
I
on.
know.
Like I'm not saying like
It was good.
I enjoyed pretty much all of that.
Oh yeah, it was good. It was just a lot.
It was a lot. Interesting. So Sony's. Oh, that's weird, dude.
What's up?
I was just talking to our lovely viewers
Oh,
about apparently Daybreak Game Company, the people who make PlanetSide 2, also make H1Z1. Like I never made the correlation in the name. And I also own like Lord of the Rings Online. They published EverQuest in the back in the day, and apparently
EverQuest
they.
back in the day. EverQuest is still going, man. There's still expansions
Well, I
coming
mean, they were
out.
like the original people
Oh,
who made it, and apparently it was owned by Sony. Um, it was founded by Sony, and it was to be Sony Online Entertainment until 2015, until it was sold to someone else, and they like started releasing stuff on other consoles and such.
cool. That's
So
awesome.
that's interesting. It's weird to find these little pieces of I don't know history where you don't realize just how I mean,
interconnected everything is.
yeah, or how prominent of a developer they actually were. Where you're like, you never would associate EverQuest with PlanetSide 2, but it's by the exact same studio.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it makes sense. Like, in order to make a game like PlanetSide 2, you need people with a lot of experience with MMOs. And so, the first MMO is a good place to start. Makes sense. Hey, since we basically already started up again, how I don't think I added it on here. Have you tried out the mobile version of RuneScape?
Of RuneScape?
Have you downloaded that yet?
I don't even think I knew that was a thing.
What? You didn't know? Oh, I figured you'd be the first person to know. You were big on that back in the day. It's been all over the
As big as my parents
just
would let me be.
just open your phone and go to
Old
the
school
Android store. It'll be
RuneScape.
it'll be right there on the front. Oh
I
no.
mean, reviews look good.
Yeah, it's okay. I thought you would have played it. I thought you would have like been
Oh
all
god,
over
I
that.
don't need this. If
I know you
it's
don't, but it's there and it's
oh
free. It's right
no.
there.
Oh no.
Come back to Jagex, Jake.
Oh no.
Jagex wants you.
I don't.
I can't believe you didn't
Thankfully,
know about this. Oh my gosh.
thankfully,
Yeah.
thankfully, as I've gotten older, I've gravitated a bit away from grindy games like that, where you can put a lot of time into it.
Hmm.
Like people, to get 99 wood chopping, level 99 wood chopping.
Yeah.
They put dozens and hundreds of hours or something into it.
You say that, but there's RuneScape right there in front of you. Full massive
Thankfully,
multiplayer.
thankfully, I apparently have gotten my attention span has gotten shorter or something.
Yep, that's what happens when you get older.
But I say that, but then here I am playing Subnautica for hours on end.
That's
So
fair.
I don't know.
Well, Subnautica's prettier. Like, there's a lot more to look at in
I
Subnautica.
think it's more so just because I get that barrier of getting comfortable with the game is I'm just better at like not going past that. So to where I get
Yeah.
like all into it.
Okay, one more video game thing really quick. What happened with this Diablo Immortal thing? You mentioned it a while ago. I know a little bit of what happened. Um, do you want to let me preface this actually. I know, okay. So Diablo Immortal is a new game coming out for Android and iPhone, and it was made by the Diablo people, and it's apparently a full Diablo experience but on a mobile device. They announced this at a show, and it was booed to eternity. Is that kind of the news? Is that why it was so funny?
Yeah, so like
Okay.
I mean, they had hyped up for what is it, BlizzCon, right? Yeah.
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
there was going to be several Diablo announcements, and they had I think even a teaser trailer about this big Diablo announcement, and I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure this phone game was their biggest announcement.
Oh, that poor community. You know, I don't feel too bad for them because I don't know. Diablo's not a great game. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not too much in the community. It feels like a game that could easily be a phone game. Like it feels very much like, oh, that's the obvious choice for a game like Diablo. Like that game is built off of just like clicking on your screen and just tapping your person to go from one room to another in an isometric environment. That seems like it was born to be on a phone.
See, but here's the thing. I'm trying to find the person who asked the question.
Okay.
But first off, it's almost like a I kind of want to say disgrace, like a disrespectful or disrespect towards the people, the biggest fans of the game, since it has been a PC exclusive, and they're pushing it as the new best way to play Diablo. And
I think
there's this one guy I want to find him in the Q&A session, but he says there's a lot of features on here we see that we've been begging for in the PC version. Is there any chance that this is going to be
oh.
ported to PC, or we're going to see some of those features?
And they said no. I think I remember
And
that particular thing.
and he said no, there are no plans to we have no plans to make this on PC. And people are like, oh boo, that's horrible.
Yeah.
And the guys were like, do you not own phones?
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I kind of, I still feel bad for. I understand that the community definitely felt like this was a bit of a slap in the face. Which is honest. Like it sounds like the biggest issue here is that Diablo wasn't good enough, or it's a company, Blizzard. Blizzard wasn't good enough at knowing their audience for this particular thing. It honestly doesn't feel like they've ever really understood what to do with Diablo. It seems like a title that they just kind of like. They had Diablo 3 forever ago, and everyone's been asking for Diablo 4, but not enough people, and they just kind of put it on the back burner for so long they didn't really care about it. It just seems like they just didn't know their audience very well in this case, and I feel bad about that. But if they if they'd spun this in a different way, I think it would have been fine.
Yeah, it was
Like I
it
don't,
was definitely mostly because they made a huge deal about it.
yeah. Well,
Um, there
I,
was there was a point that was made about how they should have like I think they should have released it like the same day they announced it and made less of a deal about it or
that
something
that
like that.
that would have been one way to do it. I think the big deal about it isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think their issue was that they didn't come clean about it being a phone game very clear in the future. Like don't there's this paradigm shift that's happening right now, but I've used that word like 3 or 4 times. I know I have. I got to stop using that word. I don't know why I'm using that so much. There's a shift that's happening though in the community, or in the video game community, where we're starting to think, and you might not agree with this, but I know it's happening, so you can't say anything about it because we've seen such good evidence for this. I think, well, I'll just say it this way, okay? Phones are becoming a much more normal or normalized way to play games. Um, and that's not true yet. Like the phone is still the worst experience you can have with games. Like if it's on any other system, it's usually better. But Fortnite is played a lot. Actually, do I have numbers for how much Fortnite's played on phones compared to everything else? Have they released that?
I don't know.
Hold on. Fortnite. Hold on. Oh wow. Maybe there is a difference. Okay, so between January of 2018 and June of 2018. So January, February, June, so 3 months, 3 months into it, the difference between when the mobile version released. Oh man, it can't be that drastic. It's a difference of, let's see, 45 million to 125 million. What's the difference there? Like 85
Where about?
minus
Sorry.
1. Oh crap.
Oh, okay. I found the question I want to show you though for Diablo
80.
Immortal.
I've seen the question, Jake. I've
Oh,
seen it.
you have? Okay.
Yeah, 80
Did you
million people. There's an 80 million person difference.
between
Um,
does that include consoles and PC?
no, it's just the number of people, but I'm pretty sure June is around the time. I'll look it up again just to make sure. And again, I'll cut out all the garbage stuff in here as I'm
Well,
going through.
this is gold. Everyone wants to listen to this.
Everyone wants Fortnite. Yeah. Fortnite mobile release date. Oh no, it was released in September. So that doesn't even account for that. I have no idea. Dang it, that doesn't show me. I really want to know the difference. It okay, well I can at least say this. I know that the mobile versions of a lot of those games, because I think there's like four big ones right now. There's PUBG Mobile, there's Fortnite Mobile, there's another one made by Tencent, I think called Knives Out. Yeah, Knives Out's the other one. There's Knives Out, the other
Yeah, yeah,
two,
I remember hearing about that.
and then Garena something. It's called like, or maybe G Arena. I think it's Garena. It's like Garena Valor or something. Each one of those have like several hundred million downloads that they happen on them.
And millions of active players too.
Yeah, yeah, oh, absolutely. And the thing is, and this is the reason, and this is kind of bringing it back, and I guess I'll just cut out all the stuff in the middle. The thing is, those experiences are not bad. I know you haven't spent much time with them, but aside from the controls are like a separate issue. Those things look like they do on PC. They look really, really, really good. And with Fortnite, it's just the same assets that are just ported over at a lower resolution. With PUBG, I honestly can't tell the difference. I usually play on lower settings on PUBG, so maybe that's why. But it really feels like I'm just playing PUBG when I'm playing that game. I don't feel a difference at all. The sounds are all the exact same. The textures are all the exact same. The vaulting system is the exact same. It feels like the same thing. And these things are getting way more popular than they used to be, and they can play all the AAA games now because a lot of these AAA games are coming out on the Switch, and the Switch is less powerful than my phone, and that's crazy to me.
Which is
That
honestly a little ridiculous.
it is a little
But
ridiculous, but it's true, and so I get that They were like, I think Blizzard was honestly just seeing this because I don't know if you ever played it. Well, you've played Torchlight, right? You've played
Yeah,
Torchlight.
yeah. I've played Grim Dawn as well, which is
Okay.
a Diablo inspired game.
Okay. Well, I haven't played that one, but we both played Torchlight. Torchlight's a stone throw away from Diablo. They're very, very similar games. Very, very similar. And I don't know if you remember, but Torchlight's a very, very light game. And so I want to say Diablo's a light game. I could be wrong about like the different assets they have. But I know that when you play it, it honestly looks like a phone game and it plays like a phone game. And so having it on a phone seems like the easiest thing in the world like to do to make your audience happy because it's this kind of thing that you'd want to play just every once in a while. So I think they went the wrong way about expressing this news. Yeah, so anyways, I really think Diablo Immortal, I think it's going to be probably the best. I think it will be the best Diablo game that's ever come out because there won't be a difference between the PC version and that one, but I get that it still feels like there's a difference because it's not on the
Yeah,
big thing.
and like I said, I think it's just been being disingenuous to the core fan base. They
Yeah.
weren't asking for it. Maybe it will end up being good. And I haven't played a Diablo game, so I feel like I'm a little bit out of line speaking about it like this.
Yeah, you'll be
So I
fine.
think so. I think I'll have to try playing a Diablo game, and then
Yeah.
maybe see what the mobile game is like.
Yeah, I just it's what was I saying a minute ago? I don't again, I don't think that the community would have been mad at all if they'd just been prefaced like, "Hey, listen, Diablo 4 isn't coming out this year. There's a mobile game that we will be showing, and this is the name of the mobile game." And then they just spend the whole conference talking about details for it. I think that would have been the perfect thing to do, but just preface it a little bit instead of pretending like the biggest thing ever that's going to change their life is a little game for their phone because the
Yeah, and it's like I said, it was just the presentation was all wrong. They because this is like watching the presentation where they announced it. It was just like, this is the best way. You are the most connected you have ever been, and you can play from anywhere. And I'm like, like over the top like they always are. But these are the whole room is full of people who love the game, and you're telling them this is the new best thing.
I really think I don't know, PC gamers need to get off their high horse a little bit. I don't they just need to there's things that are great about PC gaming, but there's things that are not great about PC gaming that can be better literally on every other console. And I don't think that PC gamers really accept that enough. And I know you're a PC gamer and I'm sorry for saying that, Jake. I know it offends you a little bit, but it's a little bit true when you know it. So
Well, this podcast is already long enough, so I'm not gonna start discussing that too. So
You sure? We can get into it a little bit. What were you gonna
no,
say?
no, no,
Do
no.
you think do you think there's any merit to what I just said?
No, I do think there is a little, but not as much as you think there is.
I can accept that. That makes sense. I don't know. Like the like PC gaming's great because there's accuracy that's involved and there's a lot of precision with buttons. Like there's a lot of like extra there's a lot of little nuances with buttons that you can
And
have
not even
like
so
built
much
into it.
that. And I know I said I don't really want to get into it,
I really want to.
but it's more so the fact that you have so many different options too. You're not limited to just a controller
Oh, you can just throw in a
or
gamepad if you want to, or you can
yeah,
do
or
this, you can do
just
that.
a touch screen. You can do any of those or any combination of all of them. You can and whichever one you want to do, you can.
Yeah, but
I don't
I
know.
mean, I just
Are there Diablo mods actually? I want to look that
that's
up.
a good question. I don't know. Well, what I'm normally thinking about when I'm thinking about the limitations to it, everything is that well, first of all, when I think about games, it's a little bit different because for me, mods are such a yeah, man, this is gonna get too long. I'll be real quick with this and everything. Mods don't feel like the normal game to me. It's hard. That's a big leap for me to make and everything. It feels more just like a really crazy, little kid thing that they kind of tacked onto it at the last minute because they think it's funny. Um, That's always the way that mods have felt for me. Man, we need to do like an after show now for this show. Jeez. Okay, is there any? Oh yeah, we haven't even got. Oh crap, we haven't gotten to news articles yet. How far have we
Yeah.
gone? What time
We are
is it?
almost 2 hours in.
Oh dear God.
So okay, so what I
Man,
was actually thinking is we we
we
we
cut it now
we
and then do a
might
third one.
we might want to do like a kind of a third episode, because this is an episode in of itself. I
Yeah.
feel.
All right.
I don't think you should call the last episode we did a part. I think you should just make it its own full episode.
I'll figure it out when we get there. Either way, we need
Or
to cut
you
this
just
one.
make it one huge podcast.
You'd love that, wouldn't you? Oh man.
Oh my
All right.
gosh.